Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for turning up to today's webinar. Hopefully everyone's doing well out there, and with the changing of certain situations that we're all in, depending on which state. So hopefully everyone is well. Today we have Expense Manager on the line. We have both Philip and Renee from Expense Manager that will be taking us through their solution that complements MYOB Advanced. Expense Manager and Leverage have a long-standing relationship, a number of mutual customers, largely successful. One of the better independent software vendors that we have a running relationship with, and we would like to continue with that. So without too much further from me, I'll hand it over to Philip, who will take you through Expense Manager, and Renee will do a demonstration of the solution later.
Great, thanks James, and thanks for the introduction, and to the whole team at Leverage Technologies for hosting the webinar this morning. Look, like James mentioned, my name's Phil from Expense Manager, Channel Partner Manager. I'm going to walk you through a quick PowerPoint presentation this morning before handing off to my colleague Renee Perry to do a live demonstration of our solution. That way you can see our platform and the benefits it could bring to your company firsthand. So first off, who are we? Expense Manager is a cloud-based expense and invoice automation platform. There are a number of modules that we offer. Firstly, expense management, which is all around staff out-of-pocket expenses, company credit card transactions, and mileage as well. We also offer accounts payable automation and purchase orders all in one platform. This is a key differentiator between us and other platforms in the market. And our view has always been, why would you take 3 separate systems when you can get one complete spend management platform? You'll notice in the slide deck as well this morning that we've highlighted e-invoicing, which really is the next phase of accounts payable automation and will allow us to receive invoice data directly from merchants. It's sad to say, but 65% of mid-sized companies across Australia and New Zealand are still processing their staff expenses and supplier invoices manually. CFOs today know that going digital is now an essential part of the process. And of course, COVID-19 has truly accelerated this, with companies needing to pivot and work from home essentially overnight. Automation delivers benefits immediately across many pain points that companies face today. And it's not just benefits that are delivered to the finance team, but end users have mobile apps and modern business tools which allow them to concentrate on their core roles, not so much as shuffling paper. When it comes to expenses and invoices, one of the greatest strains on costs and efficiencies is a high volume of paper associated with a manual process. When processing invoices manually, the most common scenario that we hear from clients is that they're physically signed by managers for approval, then manually keyed into the ERP system for payment. Industry experts and from our own experience in AP automation shows the dramatic difference between processing expenses and invoices manually versus online in an automated process. Processing 50 expense claims in a month, that's a saving of $1,290 per month, or annually $15,480. Processing 500 supplier invoices in a month, that's a saving of up to $76,200 per annum. We have a comprehensive savings calculator that we can provide to your company to allow you to really drill down and get the actual costs and savings that you would achieve by implementing a tool like Expense Manager. Aside from a range of financial reports, Expense Manager also includes a full operational dashboard that provides our clients a near real-time view of the status of their entire accounts process. The dashboard allows companies to monitor a range of metrics. For instance, you can visually see a snapshot of invoices that are outstanding and due for payment, or how many company cards are yet to be reconciled by managers. The operational dashboard allows our clients to monitor and streamline their entire spend process and get real insight to their data. Aside from the hard dollar savings, there are a number of soft dollar benefits that come with accounts automation as well. It's a faster process, enabling staff to reconcile expenses and approve invoices from anywhere and at any time. Being digital eliminates the document storage, and invoices and receipts are available at any time with easy access, just one click away in MYOB Advanced, keeping auditors happy and errors are dramatically reduced, with fraud control also being improved. I'll pass over to my colleague Renee to walk us through a live demonstration of Expense Manager to show you how our platform can totally revolutionise your expense and invoice process. So over to you, Renee.
Thank you kindly, Phil. Lovely to meet everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So today we're going to be working from two different perspectives. We're going to be working from our desktop, but we're also going to work from the mobile. We're also going to log in as three different personas. We're going to log in as a claimant, then we're going to log in as a manager, and then we'll log in as the all-important accounts payable. Logging into our mobile device right now, the very first page that pops up on the screen is what we refer to as our receipts vault. In here, I store all my receipts throughout the month that I've been spending on my credit card or for my cash reimbursement. And as you can see, I've already got some receipts sitting here ready to go against my credit card statement. On the credit card statement, we actually add more value to this with the receipts. We add a lot more detail than what you'd normally see on your credit card statement. Clicking in now, how do I get a photo in here? How do I get a receipt in? I click on the receipts button and I'd simply take a photo within the app. Being that we're on a Zoom session today, I have to take a receipt that I've already saved. Once I hit the save button of that receipt, the OCR scanning and what we refer to as another service that we add, which is a core differentiator of Expense Manager, Human in the Loop. So we offer the service of OCR, but we also offer Human in the Loop, which has some machine learning behind it and an actual physical person who helps the machine do some more learning if they ever make a mistake. The OCR will pick up the amounts and it will also pick up the GST as well as the supplier amount. If I spend money in another country, as an example, if we were in New Zealand, we could select the New Zealand currency as well, or we could keep it in the Australian currency here. I'm able to manually change that. You'll also notice that we've done a little bit of smart coding on behalf of the employee. Expense Manager's platform is a role-based platform, meaning that we know what some of the data is already about the employees. We see here that this particular employee works for Jim's Construction. However, we've also got several other business entities listed here as well. So if this employee was spending money for ABC Bricklaying, she would be able to go ahead and select that. But on a general rule, we say that she works for Jim's Construction. So it's already been populated on her behalf by Expense Manager. You'll also see that we've said that she works for the cost center, finance. Again, if she spent money for the marketing department, she'd be able to manually come in and override that if she was spending the money for them. Then we've also got the all-important GL codes. So again, as being a role-based platform, there's a whole range of GL codes here that are pertaining to the job role of this particular employee. You're going to have a lot more GL codes in your ERP system. So we're only going to bring over the ones that are actually relevant to the staff. So in here, you can see she's got entertainment, taxis, petrol, and so forth. So let's go ahead and select a particular one now with staff amenities. And you'll also see here that we've asked the employee, what about a project code? So another core differentiator of Expense Managers is our project codes that you can select. For this particular one, I'm going to select the New Zealand office opening. Then I've also been asked to add in a description. And I can either now save this to go towards my credit card statement, or I can add it to a cash reimbursement out-of-pocket claim. For this particular one, I'm going to now save that to go towards my credit card statement, and the scanning has started. I'm now going to add one more receipt in, and this time we're going to add it to a cash reimbursement. Go ahead, again, take that photo, pick up my receipt, and I'm going to leave it as Jim's Construction this time and of the finance team. My GL code I'll select is the taxi. I'm going to add in the project code that it was relevant to. And a description. And now I can go ahead and add it to a claim. you'll notice that it brings up a box asking the employee, do they want to add it to a new reimbursement, or do they want to add it to one that they may have created at the start of the month? For this particular demo today, we'll add it to an existing reimbursement that's already been raised. And you'll see here our very first workflow within Expense Manager. So I can see that this is reimbursement 3462, the date of the claim, and who my approver is. So in here, we have a standard workflow for the purpose of the demo today. However, you can have as complicated or as flat surface workflows within Expense Manager as the business requires. So as an example, if I spent over a certain valued amount and it was more than $500, Thomas would have to approve my purchase, my claim, but then it would also go to Michael as well for approval. And likewise, if it was over that $5,000 amount, it would then need to go off to Jeremy for approval. Well, we're using John today to approve our workflow here. And you'll see here that I've already stored in some receipts. Throughout the month, I've been adding them as I go, and I can see that scanning has already happened. Now from here, again, I've got all my details there. I can add more supporting documentation right from here if I need to. And I can go ahead also and add in a note to my boss. And he will then see this has been dated and time-stamped. When I submit this for approval, my boss will actually see that note as well. Now, I can go ahead from here and add another expense in if I need to, or I can just go ahead and take a photo to add in at a later stage as well. The next thing I'd like to draw your attention to is split expenses through the mobile device. This is another added bonus feature of Expense Manager. Imagine on this taxi receipt, I was actually not just traveling on my own, I was with the marketing team. So I can now go ahead and select who I was with at that time and say, I was actually with the marketing team. So we're going to split this bill across equally. Now, if I needed to add another split in, I could easily do so by clicking the split there. And then I can come down and finish the coding from here as well. I can manually come in and override the amount as well and say, oh, it's actually only $25. Or I could actually change the percentage of this as well to say it was 49%. And I can also flag it as personal if it was a personal out-of-pocket expense. Go ahead now and save that split. And I'm now ready to go ahead and push this through to my manager. So I'm going to go ahead now, push that through, and he will receive an email notification flagging that there's a reimbursement. You'll see that it automatically populated and opened my claims page. On my claims page, I have 4 folders. I have my unsubmitted, my pending, my rejected, and my approved. I can work through all of these folders to see the status of all of my claims. And you'll also see here, the one that we just pushed through was that cash reimbursement. There it is sitting in my pending folder. So anything that I've got going on in the business that would be automatically in my unsubmitted folder, you can see here that my credit card statement has also populated in here. So let's go now and we're going to log out. We'll log into the main desktop so we can have a bit bigger view. We'll come back in a little bit later and we're going to log in. We're on the desktop now, and you'll see here that it has a very similar look and feel to the mobile device. Here I can raise a purchase order, a new reimbursement straight from here as well. And we can see here that I've got my purchase orders, some invoices, and some credit cards, my credit card statement to work through. So let's work through that now and push these through to management for approval. So on my left-hand side of the screen, I can see my receipts that I've been taking photos of all month, and they've automatically been attached to my credit card statement. Expense Manager has already done all the hard work for accounts payable and brought that information over. Every time you've taken a photo and stored the receipt in your vault, we've then attached it to your bank statement ready for you to reconcile and push through to your approver, John Red. You'll see here that there's already a split. There's something in red here for me to action. And there's also something in E with a letter E. Let's work through this now. From the front page, I can do what we refer to as quick coding. And it's worthwhile mentioning that you can have as many fields for data collection as you require. I can also work through the back page as well. And I can see that split there is already here. Again, I can add more lines for my split if I need to. I can also go ahead and use this as a default split or save it as a bookmark. I could go ahead now and save this. And I can, as I work down the list here, I can also see I've got a taxi receipt. What happens if I accidentally lose the taxi receipt? And when these things happen, right? Our handbags eat up our receipts, our wallets seem to lose them magically. We can actually put in an exception claim in here. So here I'm going to put in a note. And now I can go and save that. Now, this won't stop me from pushing the credit card statement through for approval. It's just going to flag to the boss that there's an exception here for them to address and decide whether or not they'll accept this expense out of pocket as well, or if they'll push it back as a dispute to the employee. Here, I've got something to action because it's in red. It's telling me I need to do something. Come on down further, I can see that I forgot to add in the GL code and the project code. If I go ahead now and select entertainment, you'll see automatically that the FBT screen pops up. So when your accounts payable run a report through Expense Manager, an FBT report, it will come up that this particular credit card on this date had an FBT claim. Now, you can either do a 50-50 or an actual within Expense Manager. I'm now going to do an actual where I add the people I was traveling with. And I'll also go ahead and add a client as well. And now that's been listed there. I'll also have to add that project code in and that description as well before I can save this. Oops. Go ahead, save that. This will now flag at the front of my credit card statement that this has got an FBT claim as well. Scrolling down further, you can also see I've got a green exception here. So what is a green exception? If perhaps you've received a bill that is below a certain threshold amount, you can flag this as a green exception within the business. So every time we see this particular supplier push a spend through on this credit card claim, we're going to say that the employee does not need a receipt. They don't have to worry about it. We've already flagged that supplier has been flagged as an exception. So you can see here we've now got a split, a red exception, an FBT claim, and a green exception. My credit card statement now is ready to be submitted over to my boss, John Red, as well. So I'm going to go ahead now, submit this over to John. And now I want to actually draw your attention to a purchase order and some invoices as well. So with Expense Manager, you can go ahead at any time, raise a purchase order from the mobile device or from the desktop as well. So clicking in to one that I raised a little bit earlier, I can see here on my left-hand side of the screen that I've got a quote from my supplier. And also I've got my purchase order number that's been raised by Expense Manager. And you'll see here that we've got the supplier name. If I don't have the supplier in the system here in our platform, all I have to do is click to add the supplier, go ahead and add all of those details in. But we've already got Nakama set up, so we've got them selected. And in here, I can put a reference as well pertaining to what this is. I can go ahead and add some delivery instructions in here as well. I can add a date for the delivery of this particular item. We also have a address book, so I can use one that I've already saved for the finance team, and it will pre-populate that data for me. And then from my front page, I can also do that quick coding, same as you could in the credit card or the cash reimbursement. I can see here that I've got my entity that I'm able to change again. I've got the cost center of finance. I've already got the GL code that's for this particular one that's been set. I just have to actually put in a description. Again, I can work from the back page, and likewise with the credit card, we can actually add more fields in here depending on the data that you actually want to receipt in. I can run split expenses as well, because this may have been for a different department, not just mine. And then I'm able to go ahead and add another line item in if required. So maybe there's some more information I want to add in. I can absolutely do that there. You'll also notice that I've got a notes field and a documents page as well. So if there was any notes to be added in here for the manager, I can go ahead and add that in. And you'll also see that we can add supporting documentation. So perhaps my boss has actually said to me that we need to have 3 quotes for this particular spend in the business. And you'll also notice that the second workflow within Expense Manager, which is that my approver is John Red. And likewise with the expense module, we can also add in the workflows here for you as well. So perhaps this has to go to an executive level before it goes to accounts payable, or perhaps a staff member on the road is requesting this and it needs to be sent to accounts payable. We can create those workflows for you at the time that are relevant to the business. I'm now able to go and send this off and push this over to John for approval. Once John has approved it, I will receive an email notification with my purchase order sitting here as well. So if I open up a previous one that's been approved, how do I send this off to my client? All I have to do is click on my summary here, and I can see the purchase order sitting here ready for me to go and send it to my supplier. On the left-hand side here, it will have your company logo here. Your supplier is going to see that this purchase order has actually been approved. Here, I've got all the details of what that purchase was for. And also down the bottom is the quote from the supplier, which they're going to be able to see as well. So they know that this can now be emailed over across to the supplier. Clicking out of that now. If I come back in, imagine that the boss has, the suppliers have now sent me their invoices. All of those invoices are now sitting here waiting for approval as well, or for me to do something to them. How did they get in here? They came in through my vault and they've been emailed across to us. So here I can see that Nakama has sent their tax invoice. We've got some from Federal Express and Direct Couriers. We're just going to quickly log back in before we action these. We'll log back in now as a manager, approving something on the road, and then we'll also do it from the desktop as well. So logging in as my boss here, now he's got a purchase order request, a cash reimbursement, and he's got a credit card claim. He's just going to approve her purchase order. She's harassed him. He can go ahead now and add a note into her. And she'll see that in her notifications to her as well. Now he can go ahead and either reject this if he doesn't see that it's valid, if there's something wrong with it. He can also go ahead and dispute this as well. If he disputes it, it will go back to the employee directly. If he rejects it, it will go through all of the workflow approvals again. So likelihood of the manager rejecting, he'll try to make sure that that only happens if there really is something wrong with that purchase order. You can go ahead now and approve that right from here. And that will go to my the employee. She'll receive an email notification. Let's just do one more approval from his mobile device. And again, I can come in, check what the employee has done. I'm able to either do a dispute or a reject. Again, I can add notes as well if I needed to on behalf of the employee. And I can go ahead and approve that. I'm going to just log out of the mobile device for a minute. The employee sent off her supplier quote and purchase order to Nakama. They've emailed the invoice back. It's now sitting here waiting for me to action. Whoops, just popped out. Won't be a moment. Pop back in. So on my page here, what do I want to do with this tax invoice? Clicking into it now, I can see here that this is what we refer to as a single scanned header invoice, meaning that we have brought over the, Expense Manager has read the OCR scanning has kicked in with the human in the loop service that we offer. We brought in the supplier name, we brought in the ABN, we've also brought in the description, as well as the all-important tax invoice. So here we're going to make sure that this invoice doesn't get paid a second time, and we've done a duplicate check. We've also got the date of this as well. I'm now able to come in and do a bit more coding, and I can also see, again, now this is our third workflow, who my approver is for this particular invoice. So here I can also go ahead and select a purchase order that this was pertaining to. So I've now selected that purchase order. You'll automatically see that we've added for you the remaining balance of that purchase order. I have the choice to either close this purchase order off now, because I think perhaps the next time we place an order on Nakama, it won't be enough, or I can leave it open. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then I'm also going to draw your attention over here to on the left-hand side of the screen. I've got my tax invoice, as I mentioned. We've got notes. We've also got the purchase order there. So we've tied the invoice to the purchase order, and you're able to see the two together. From the front page here, I can do some quick coding. I can add in description on what that was. I can work from my back page. You'll also see here that we absolutely can split the expense, and this is very important for a lot of invoices, because we know that this is probably for two different complete projects. So I can come in, make the changes on the project. I can change the amounts as well. Go ahead and save that. We've now put a split on this particular invoice as well. And now it's ready for me to either add another line item in, add a further note for the manager, or add any supporting documentation. Perhaps you've got packing slips, or you've got a manual that needed to be uploaded for this particular invoice. You're able to add that information here to Expense Manager. I can go ahead now and submit this invoice over for approval. That's now been submitted. And then I want to also bring in one more invoice for approval. We'll bring in this time what we refer to as a multi-line scanned invoice. So again, that OCR scanning and our human in the loop service has done a wonderful job here, bringing in all of these line items over here. You'll also see that we've also brought in the GL code. So we've already said that when we see an invoice from direct couriers, that this is the GL code for it, postage. In here, I can manually come in and make any changes. You'll see here that we brought in the not only the description, the quantity, the unit price, we've also brought in the gross amount and the total value of the invoice as well. Again, you can work from the back page, create splits across this as well. You can add some more line items if you've missed any data, or if there's any extra information you want to give before it goes to accounts payable. And likewise, I can add in notes, see if there was a purchase order, if this was pertaining to a purchase order, and then also add in supporting documentation. So I'm going to go ahead now and submit this invoice over to accounts payable. Sorry, to the boss. And let's have a look at my pending folder. Here are all of those transactions that we've now pushed through, sitting in my pending folder. So logging out as Kylie, the claimants, we're now going to log back in as her boss. And you'll see here that we have here what we have here, our approval sorry, a bit tongue-tied this morning. Here is our approval multi-claims button. So if I'm a manager and I have a lot of claims coming through, a lot of invoices coming through, I might actually want to push them through very fast. I'm able to do that by clicking on the multiple approval button, and then I can select to push these through. You'll notice that though, there isn't a button here for me to push through the credit card. Remember, she actually had an exception here. So we're actually preventing management from skipping this one and pushing it through fast. We actually want them to make sure, come in and check what's going on with this credit card statement that the employee has pushed through. So here I can see that she's got a split on her credit card statement. I'm actually able to come in and make any changes on behalf of the employee as well. Perhaps she selected the wrong GL code. I can actually come in and make those manual changes on her behalf. I can see here that she has a red exception. So I'm able to either tick to approve this, or I can tick to dispute it. You can also add in a note to her. And of course, that will date and timestamp this, and the employee will see this on her approval. So coming in now, I will actually tick to approve this. That has now moved this from a red E to a green E, meaning that it's now ready to be pushed through to accounts payable. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this right from here. And I can also now select her invoice to be paid and approve it. That's now being pushed through. So let's now log in as accounts payable. And here in accounts payable, all of the claims that we pushed through and the invoices are now sitting here ready for the accounts payable to review and send over to MYOB Advanced. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that the accounts payable has a bunch of reports that they can run at any time. They can update their claims, import the claims, and export them. Let's go in and have a look at the credit card statement here. Like a manager has access to seeing all and seeing everything, so does accounts payable. Accounts payable are able to override anything that the employee has done. They're able to also send for review or reject the entire claim. As mentioned before, if it gets rejected, it will go through all the approval workflows again. I can also run a summary on this claim and see what has happened throughout, and also see all the receipts. I can also run a audit on this and physically check through to see what the manager's approvals have been done. Then again, I can work from the back page, check her splits as well to see if they're accurate. I can see that there's been a note from the boss. Yep, I'm happy to finalize this right from here. The next thing we'll do is we'll actually do a bulk approval like we did from the managers. We'll select all for the rest because we know that these have been approved by the managers. The money's already been spent on the tax invoice, and we're going to go ahead and finalize these as well. We're going to now export these over to MYOB. So coming in here, we'll send over the invoices first. There they are there, as well as her cash reimbursement. So pushing this through, and I'm going to now send it over. So now I've got a link for me to go in and click into MYOB. So Expense Manager has a bi-directional push-pull through MYOB Advanced, meaning that not only can I push from Expense Manager into MYOB, but I'm also going to be able to click on a claim to link it back to Expense Manager. So here you can see the bills that we've just sent over. So this is that direct couriers invoice that we pushed in, and Expense Manager has brought in the date, the post period, the supplier reference details, the primary location as well. The terms and agreements are here, the due date, as well as the prompt payment date. We've also brought in the branch, the sub-account, also the account details, that all important descriptions, and of course the valued amount. Lastly, I'll show you that we've got that document link, so I can click back here and it will take me straight back into Expense Manager to have a look at that particular invoice as well. Going back to Expense Manager now on the export claims, let's go in and have a look at our journal entry, push that over to MYOB. And now I can click through. And here is the credit card statement for that employee. So again, we brought in the transaction date, our ID, the post period as well, the branch and the actual ledger details. We brought in the branch, sub-account, account, and the description. We can also see for which employee this credit card statement was for, ready for me to close this off. I can also see here my description on my export as well. And I can click straight over back into Expense Manager to have a look at this item. And I can see that she's lost that receipt there. So that brings me to a close of Expense Manager. Thank you of the demonstration showing you our expense module, our purchase order and invoice module. Thank you very much for your time today. And now I'm going to send it back over to Phil.
Great, thanks, Renee. Thanks, Renee, for the demonstration. With a direct integration to MYOB Advanced, like you saw in Renee's demo, all of your expense and invoice data is sent into MYOB Advanced directly. There's no need to export any flat files or rekey that data manually. As mentioned as well, we receive a backfeed from MYOB Advanced. So as you create or update things like projects, supplies, and tasks in MYOB Advanced, that's all reflected back in Expense Manager automatically. Businesses like to buy locally, and we develop strong and meaningful relationships with our clients. For example, our very first client when we launched was KFC, and they're still one of our clients with us today. Being here on the ground means that our clients have a local and personal implementation, plus the benefit of local support. In fact, everything that we do, be it sales, implementation, development support, is right here onshore. If you need to speak to us at any time, it's just a matter of picking up the phone or lodging a ticket. Here's a testimonial from an existing MYOB Advanced site that we also have with Leverage, Fuzzy Events, plus some other household names that trust Expense Manager alongside MYOB Advanced to automate their manual business processes. You're in good company. We have well over 100 other clients who choose to run Expense Manager alongside MYOB Advanced, and these clients are truly spread across a broad range of companies and industries. We've been very successful in the not-for-profit, food retail, plus the service and consulting industries, just to name a few. Our offer to you, anyone who signs up to Expense Manager or registers for a demo following the webinar today is entitled to their first month free. And as mentioned in the presentation earlier, we do have a comprehensive ROI calculator, so you can actually crunch the numbers and see how much time and money you could be saving by automating your expenses and invoices yourselves. I'll just pass over to James to walk through a quick Q&A session.
Well, no, thanks, Phil and Renee. Thanks for taking us through Expense Manager. I find it a fantastic application, very clean, very modern, and obviously that integration with MYOB Advanced is very mature and solid. You know, the bi-directional integration, you know, depending on if they're an Expense Manager user or a MYOB Advanced user, you can flip between the two seamlessly without too much of a fuss. So no, that's brilliant. So for those who are on the webinar, if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A panel within Zoom, if you have any. While you think of some questions, I think I've got some questions on my side. So obviously with Expense Manager, there's a suite of capabilities and features and functions. So is it necessary to implement them all at once, or can they be rolled out over a period of time?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So look, it's really up to the client. We've got clients who roll it out in quite a number of ways. Some clients decide they want to automate all of their processes at once and choose to roll out expenses and invoices in one go. But it doesn't have to be that way either. Some clients like to do more of a phased approach. So they might say that, you know, they've got a huge pain point around their supplier invoices or expenses, tackle that first and then add modules as they grow. So it's really up to the client as to how they choose to roll out the system.
Brilliant. Brilliant. It gives a bit of flexibility, crawl, walk, run. You know, it's the best way of getting new systems and across the line. So with MYOB Advanced, it's a local application. It's all hosted in Australia and New Zealand. Whereabouts is Expense Manager? Where's all the data kept?
Yes, all of our data is stored on Amazon Web Services, Tier 1. It's all stored within Australia. So we use the Sydney Data Centre with AWS. Which is obviously a key requirement for any of our government or not-for-profit clients to have that data held onshore.
Brilliant, brilliant. We've got a question here from one of the attendees. Do you have access? Do you have API access to Expense Manager? I don't know if the context is is there an API available for users to or customers to publish to or request, or
there
is
is
an open API?
There is. So like obviously we have the native API access to MYOB Advanced, so we can send all of our data into MYOB Advanced directly. We do also have our own API. So some of our clients might be running, say, like a BI tool, for example. So we do have some options around that. So look, but that's more of a specific thing, but happy to chat about that a bit more offline.
Righto. Hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, there's a standard integration. Expense Manager is a partner of MYOB, so they obviously all up to date when there's an upgrade of MYOB Advanced. You know, they make sure it's all regression tested and compatible with the latest version of MYOB. So that's something that customers don't really have to think about. But if you are looking at extending it, then yeah, those options are available. You can talk to Expense Manager. So obviously with implementations and then future support, whereabouts is the Expense Manager team based?
Yeah, so our entire support team and implementations is here in Australia as well, predominantly mainly in Sydney. So it's just a matter of picking the phone, lodging a ticket, or reaching out to your account manager to get support. Obviously, with the implementation, we will work hand in hand with Leverage to get everything up and running. And obviously, James, you can build on that as well.
That's right. So, you know, just like a lot of the application or independent software vendors out there in the ecosystem, they bolt on and it's relatively seamless, and it's just part of that fee. It's all looked after on your behalf as part of a managed service. So that's pretty good. So I've got no more questions, so we might as well wrap things up there. Obviously, if there are additional questions, thanks Phil. You've got the contact details here to either reach out to Leverage or Expense Manager for subsequent conversations, a more in-depth demonstration or anything of that ilk. Please reach out to us, happy to have a chat with you. So again, thank you Phil and Renee, great presentation guys. I always like going through the new features and functions each time, so I'm happy that I sat through it. So thank you everyone who's on the line. Hope you enjoyed that and have a good rest of your day.
That's great. Thanks, James. Thank you, on.
Thanks, guys. Catch up.
Thank you.